Welcome to the March 13th edition of my Creative Corner. I'm also going to do a simulcast type of a thing. It sounds fancy, doesn't it? I'm video recording this at the same time to also put a video on YouTube. I've done this experiment a couple of other times, but I have new equipment and I really think that this will work. So if you want to see some of the things versus just listening, you can check out my YouTube channel, which is Vicki Holloway. Just my name. That's it. Nothing fancy. So the first thing I want to talk about is I was digging through my stash looking for some different fabrics, and I realized I still had 4 of these Timeless Treasure fat quarters. They're a beautiful collection with some of my favorite colors of aqua, cream, black, and gold, and they have some sparkle to them, and they would make a beautiful infinity scarf. So I will have made 3 infinity scarves out of that bundle, and I have a tutorial on ourcreativesouls.wordpress.com with all the tips that Judy gave me from QuiltCon. It's the easiest thing to make, and I love these fat quarters, but the sparkle is kind of something that I wouldn't normally put in a quilt, and I really liking it. I've had some issue in the past long arming fabrics that have metallic threads, so that kind of stopped me, but they're so beautiful I didn't want to get rid of the fat quarters, so I found a great use for them. All right, what have I been quilting? Not a whole lot of piecing has been going on, but I did finish, I'm about a week behind, on the hand piece quilt along. It's a beautiful 8-pointed star pattern, and I have to say some of my points are going to get clipped off. Some did get clipped off, but I'm loving this Riley Blake. It's a layer cake, and it's got teals and reds, and the background fabric is white with some sewing printed things and outline, but it's also got a lot of roses and flowers. I'm really liking how that's going to turn out. I've played around with the layout in Electric Quilter, and it's an on-point layout, 3 across, 3 down, and it's going to have 5 stars in the patterns, and we have 2 left. So I've put the stars on the corner and in the center, and then the other pieces that, blocks that we worked on, that I'm really liking, and but I'm not sure if that's going to be the final layout. I like the space that you could do some quilting. I'm going to be honest, I think I'm going to machine sew the blocks together, and I'm going to machine quilt that, and it's probably going to be, according to Electric Quilter, about 40 by 40. I said 20 by 20, but they're on point, so it makes it bigger. And I've been playing with hexes too. I got a little charm pack bundle from QuiltCon, and they have some beautiful colors. The warm colors are a warm lime green, but it's darker than lime, with oranges and orange yellows. Oh, it's really pretty. Then the cool colors were light blue, medium blue, dark blue, and a navy blue, almost black. And I put them together in a row in hexagons. And I think I'm going to try using this as a test to figure out how to applique the finished hexagons to a background. And I'm going to do another row, I think, in the cool color. So I have 1 row of cool, 1 row of warm, and then I'm going to probably put a 3rd row of cool colors and applique it on a white block. They turned out to be about 8 inches with the 1-inch hexagon. So I did a 9.5-inch block. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be an experiment. It's a test block. And overall, I think it's going to turn out really quite well. The next thing is I talked about this stick and stitch product. I got a great paisley from QuiltCon, and what really made my brain get all excited about it is they gave me a sample, and it has a picture of an embroidered paisley on a jean jacket. I'm like, yes, that's perfect, but it didn't say what the product was. So I'm so happy that I reached out to Sulky. They told me, as well as people who listen to the podcast, and I ordered it from the quilt shop. It was $15. I have the bundle here. Oh, 12 sheets. They're 8.5 by 11, and you can run them through your printer. And it is, in fact, called Sulky Stitch and Stick. No, it's called Sulky Stick and Stitch. I must be looking at it backwards. And you can put it on any type of surface, embroider what you want, and then it's supposed to dissolve away. And in the pattern, it's got a beautiful vintage heart wreath embroidery pattern. So I'm excited. That's a beautiful embroidery. Reminds me of the embroidery that used to be on pillowcases, and my great-grandparents all had embroidered fancy pillowcases with tatted edges, and I haven't tatted in a long time, and I thought maybe I'll make that into something, maybe a pillow or something with a tatted edge, like a toss pillow, not necessarily a pillowcase, because you don't sleep on pillowcases with embroidery. That'll get all stuck in your hair and put marks on your face, and then you'll get maybe embroidery floss in your teeth. I don't know. So those are some things that I have been working on. It's rather been a kind of a slow week on the quilting front because I had to order the tracks from the Grace Frame Company. They did come in, and we have the long arm put together because my husband had to lift the machine off the frame and he had to put it together. I really have a hard time with maintenance stuff on it. So he did it. It's up and running, and I have the quilts that are in the queue are getting quilted, and I'm starting off with all of my swirls. And then I'm going to go to 2 baby quilts. They're going to be stippled, and then I'm going to probably, if I have time, put another one on that's my mother's. It's a Christmas quilt. And then I'm going to prepare myself for the April challenge of 15 minutes a day, no judgment, where we just free motion quilt whatever our heart desires, whether you have a real quilt, like a real quilt top that you want to practice on, or if you want to make quilt sandwiches, if you want to hand quilt, you want to do walking foot, that's fine. But join me on my Facebook group of My Creative Corner 3. I want to encourage you. I want to talk about what we're working on. And I'm going to pick some shapes, and I have some smaller quilt tops that I made last year, and I want to be able to do things on them that are new or novel or some different ideas. And I'm going to start simple and then build up my repertoire over the month to be able to do fancier and fancier things. Now, I'm going to give you one little word of advice for people who are just starting out with free motion quilting. If you haven't done too much and you want to learn how to do it, pick one shape and maybe you do it for the entire month. I am a swirl fan. Stippling is also where I started. Loops and swirls, those are all good learning all over quilting to keep it simple and learn how to fill in a space. And you become a master after a month of practicing that 15 minutes a day. I really believe, and I say this every day, I think I'm just trying to get people to understand the importance of a system for how you do things, a system for your housework, a system for your quilting, a system for your piecing. And if you do things in 15-minute increments, you will find that you will get way more done every day in 15 minutes than what you would if you just once a week spent an hour, because you're not relearning the task. You're not putting yourself in a spot where you have to feel like you got to warm up because you do it every day. And I think that's where people who are learning how to quilt get frustrated. I have not quilted as much this winter. I feel like my hands are a little rusty and I want to get my skills back, and I want to do some custom quilting, and I have a few tops done, and then my queue will be all caught up and I can focus on new and fresh ideas. And I think this year I'm just going to do a lot more quilting than I am making big quilts. And I talked about that last time. So where am I going to go from here as far as the quilting? I'm not sure. But I think, I've got lots and lots of ideas. It's just a matter of picking it out and seeing what I have fabric for and really slowly working my way through the bucket list quilts. I'm seeing a lot of hexagon quilts on Pinterest that I'm in love with. So those are epic. And I talked about that last time. They just take a lot of work. And I may, start one after I get my temperature quilt. I feel like I'm getting a rhythm to it. But I'm also looking at some other things like the feathered stars. Oh my goodness, there's so many beautiful pictures of feathered stars. And I kind of have a feathered star. Just love them. I also like Lemoyne stars, 8-pointed stars that are all diamonds. So I don't know. I just don't know where I'm going to go with all of that. But I'm going to say is they're going to be small. I've just done an inventory of the different types of quilts I have in this house, and I have a lot. And I have a lot of walls that I would love to have like galleries on. I'd like to have galleries of embroidered hoops, and I would like to have a gallery maybe of several mini quilts. In my dining room where I do my sewing and my podcasting, I've been working on updating family photos and trying to figure out a way to make it feel more modern and lighthearted. And I think I'm going to go with pinks and mauves. And I still have my shears on my windows, but I have a dated valance. And I really want to put these huge pom-poms on it that are pinks and blues, kind of a teal aqua, and on a valance, and just make this much more fun and lighthearted. This house is old, and it's got a lot of old stuffy kind of formal furniture from our grandmothers, and the house itself is very simple and plain, but the heavy original wood and wood trim in their 5-paneled doors that are kind of like a ladder door, I think they call them. They're beautiful, but they can get very heavy in the feeling in the wintertime. And we're at a time of year where we don't have a ton of sun yet, believe it or not. It's been warming up a bit, but we haven't had lots of sun. And the house gets dark. So I just feel like it needs to be updated, and it needs to be fun and excitingly filled with colors, but yet a cohesive. So I'm watching design shows. So I want to tell you the one that I wasn't sure about, but I'm kind of loving it. It is the interior design show on Netflix from Great Britain. Oh my gosh, I'm totally drawing a blank on the competition, but it's great for me because the interior designers are amateurs and they're competing to win this contest and then have a chance at being a professional interior designer. And they are in old houses in England, and it's given me so many wonderful ideas of how to not overpower a little room with color, but use it and how to draw your eye around. So I've really been looking at making some changes, and I have all my dishes, and I have a depression glass collection that's all in yellows, but that doesn't quite fit my pinks color scheme. So I have to think about Jadeite, and we'll talk about that some more. I'm here to talk about Jadeite a little bit more. I did part of the podcast yesterday and wanted to check the sound and check all the different things, and I found out it might work, this video simulcast for YouTube. So today is National Pie Day, I understand. It is 3/14, and I'm going to have a pot pie for lunch here, and I thought in between my day job and no daylight outside, I would try on my lunch hour to wrap up the podcast. little bit more sun, and my hair is hanging in there today. You might be able to hear some rain. Yes, we have rain here on the 45th parallel. I love those first spring rains, but the problem is I really took a long time to get to my car because the parking lot has about probably 3 inches of packed snow that has turned to ice with a skim of water on top. I'm trying my hardest to walk like a penguin, but it's slick. And so far, so good. This is not good parking lot walking weather, and it really could cause somebody to have serious injury. I have fallen on the ice before, and thank goodness one time was really bad. My dad was there to make sure I didn't hit my head, but he was injured too. So, I mean, this is a slippery, dangerous time of year. So I left off on Jadeite. I have been fascinated with dishes. That's how far back the story goes, to the 80s when I was a teenager. And I started collecting these amber colored, they call them amber colored glassware. It's a depression glass, and it's full of roses called Sharon or cabbage rose. And I spent a lot of time going to antique stores on the weekend and trying to find pieces of my precious, precious Sharon. My sister also did a little bit of collecting. She had the yellow depression glass called Madrid. Now, my grandparents all had depression glass. Remember, my great-grandmas all lived until I was in my mid to late 30s. And I saw all kinds of this beautiful glassware. And I thought that Pyrex was kind of, it wasn't as pretty. And now I see everybody's collecting vintage Pyrex dishes. Man, I missed the boat on that. I could have kept all those dishes and my daughter would love them. But in the shops where I would go and get these depression glass pieces, remember, there's no internet. So you had to travel and look and handle a lot of glass and inspect it closely to make sure it wasn't chipped. And you spent a lot of time investment in being a collector, and I've always been a collector. But Jadeite is something I've always liked. Jadeite is a milk glass. I looked it up to be sure. So, milk glass is white, and they colored it the color of jade. I'm not talking about jadeite, the precious, semi-precious gemstone. I had a lot of children's dishes that were this type of material in several colors, and in fact, I still have one teacup that is of this milk glass, but it's colored a light blue, and it's pretty translucent. My grandmother had jadeite coffee cups, but the blue is called, I think it was Aqualite, and I'm not sure. There are pink dishes too, but the green, I love green is my favorite, and jade is my favorite. Emeralds and jade, I love it. And Joanna Gaines' advertisement caught my eye yesterday on my Instagram and Facebook feed. I did not get blocked by the great Facebook blackout, Instagram blackout of 2019. I didn't have an easy time loading some of my stuff, but what got stuck in my feed because of that blackout was Joanna Gaines' new line of dishes and things at Target. And one thing on the front was a jadeite reproduction, her collection. I'm in love. I'm obsessed. I realized that she's been making some of these jadeite pieces for a couple of years, and she also has some in pinks and greens in my pom-pom room. Can I pull off this new old look? And then I realized, well, Joanna Gaines already did it. That's what her farmhouse look is. I don't want it as farm as that, but I like the no fuss style, but yet not so ultra modern that there's no personality to it. So maybe I'll do Vicki Holloway's version of it. I'm such an interior designer, I've been watching that great interior design challenge and realize I know nothing about design. But I do love jadeite, and I'm obsessed, and I'm going to get a few pieces. And what I've decided is that for about 20 years, I've had, I love violets and lilacs. So I have a whole collection of teacups and other dishes that are from the Depression era and World War II that were china with little violets. And I've had that up in a long time in the shelves that are on the sides of my kitchen sink. they're, you know, the cupboards that have those little shelves on the outside to finish it, and you can put your things. And I always put decorative items. And because my house is really not very sunny, that's a north-facing window. Plants don't like it too much there, but I'm going to try to put plants on the windowsill. And then this jadeite material I'm going to collect, and I'm going to put it on the shelves. I have 6 of those little shelves, and I thought the little mini cupcake stand and the salt and pepper shakers, the little plate, maybe I could put on my plate rack on the wall. Oh, I'm just obsessed because I'm losing the color of the walls, which is a Celadon paint color, I guess. It's almost the color of a mason jar, that blue-green. But I love the green so much, I'm going to miss that color. And I was trying to think as we come up to spring, now that all of the other renovation is done, we need to paint. And I have a gray-white that's going on the walls. And I think the jadeite will be a perfect way to finish it off. And I'll have my green, and I'll be happy. And I'm going to put the teacups. I've got lots of teacups. I have lots of dishes I've collected over the years. I mean, so many that it's absurd. I have so many. But I have a china cabinet that I keep some of the pretty pieces out, and I have an old buffet that I keep my place setting for 12 that I will never use because no one likes to eat off the tiny little depression glass Sharon cabbage rose plates. They're very small. I should get them out for dieting because they're very small and you can't put that much food on it. But they're all a matching beautiful set, and I thought the jadeite would be fun to get mostly in green. But wouldn't it be fun to have 1 or 2 pieces that are pink and bring them into the dining room? And I have a bookcase with a lot of pinks on it, and I think I'm going to go pinks in the dining room in a slow and subtle way so that my husband doesn't realize that I'm over pinking it up. I love pink. I do. I really like it. I love hot pinks, all pink. So pink dishes and green dishes. Green in the kitchen, pink in the dining room, and it's also my sewing area. And this is dining room is also my podcasting area, and it's a room that I use the most. And we don't eat at the dining room table. You know, we prefer to eat in the living room in our perfectly comfortable chairs because that's the kind of people we are. So anyway, I thought I would bring up jadeite in my obsession. Have you seen the Joanna Gaines collection? It looks beautiful and not too large on some of the pieces, so they would fit perfectly in those little curio cabinet type shelves beside my kitchen sink. And bring a bit of jade because I love jadeite. I'm obsessed. I considered collecting jadeite when I was a teenager, but I really found the motherlode of this yellow Sharon depression glass and decided, well, you can get a whole collection for a place setting for my, quote, hope chest. You know, back in the day, my grandmothers all thought it was important to have a hope chest. And, but the kitchen accessories were mostly this jadeite. You could get a water pitcher for your refrigerator. You could get dishes that were storage containers for food, salt and pepper shakers, canisters, lamps, all kinds of cool stuff. I'm reining myself in though because I don't want to have lots of collections. I have tons of them already. I don't need more, but I want a few key pieces. As a cozy minimalist, I'm reading the book. You know, you want a few key pieces that stand out because you love them so much, and that's where I'm going to go with my kitchen as I'm finishing the renovation / redecorating. Now, you know, like quilting, I get myself, you know, kind of upset because it's not done. And I realize it's a process. There's no reason that I need to have this done tomorrow. It can be a slow process. There's no reason I can't take my time to buy these jadeite pieces and to paint the walls. It's going to probably take all summer, changing out some of the old dated light fixtures and switch plates over the electrical switches. You know, that stuff's going to take time, and it's okay. I don't need a 30-minute wrap-up on this, just like the shows on TV. And as in all things in life, it's all about the journey and the process. So that's been my adventure in coming up with a scheme for my kitchen, since the bathroom scheme seems to be pretty much done. And it has the green bamboo in there. So I think the Jadeite, and then to the depression glass and the pinks in the dining room. And then the living room is kind of blah, without personality right now, but it's going to get some. And we'll talk more about that as I know what I'm doing, because I really don't have a decision for that yet. So anyway, I want to end with, let me know what you think of the quality of the things that you're seeing at Joanna Gaines' Target collection. Big fan of her collections, and I was a huge fan of her show when it was on. If you have any other decorating shows that you can recommend for me, leave it in the comments below, because I need all the information I can get. As always, like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, because that helps grow the channel and helps people to find our channel. And if you're on the podcast, leave me a review, like on Podbean or wherever you're listening. Share it, help your friends find it, because I love to have a huge community talking to me about these ideas. The thing is, people, you need to comment so I know what you're thinking about, if we can have a conversation. I've had a few commenters, so that's great, and I thank you for that. As always, I'd like to remind you that if you like the podcast and you're enjoying the blog, My Creative Corner 3, that's where you'll find the show notes, please think about buying me a virtual cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I am going to take that money to grow the software for the channel, as well as buying data, so that I can continue to have weekly podcasts. There's also on an Etsy shop. You can find the link on my website for coffee cups and tote bags for the logo for My Creative Corner 3, as well as my sister and I's craft channel, Our Creative Souls. I just want to wish everyone a most awesome spring. And if you live in bad parking lot weather right now like I do, please be careful out there. Quilt on, everyone.